need more papers? If you ran out of room the other day, I made extra copies. Here you go. Just kind of pass them around. I'll give more. Does anybody else need some of these papers? Hi. Any extras you can kind of pass around? Who else needs more paper?
Did you see the picture? Oh, I know.
Everybody else is good? Step on anybody?
Thanks for coming back, Search people.
Okay, hi guys. I'm not talking again, just so you know, so you don't have to worry about that. But someone else is going today. Kristen Lima is going to be talking about field hockey in the United States, and he's specifically going to be talking about not letting preconceived stereotypes stop you from doing what you love. And he will also be focusing on his story with field hockey and the way field hockey is played throughout the world.
So, I want you to imagine a field hockey player in your head right now. I'm sure you see long hair, a skirt, stick in hand, and most definitely a female. But to that, I'd say you're missing half the picture. What you're seeing is an American stereotype of a sport that has lasted longer than the United States. A sport that's enjoyed by different cultures, races, and genders all throughout the world. So, while yes, this is a field hockey player, so is this. And so is this, and so are they, and so are they, and so is this, and yes, that's me. So before you can make any judgments about field hockey, it's important to go back to its history. And field hockey's been around for about 3,000 years and dates back to the ancient Greeks. And through its history, it's grown to be the third most popular sport in the world, with an estimated 2 billion fans. To put that into perspective, American football has around 400 million. It's played by both men and women around the world and enjoyed by both. And even though young boys and girls from around the world can start playing at a young age with the support of their friends, families, and local communities, the United States is very different. In the US, field hockey is viewed as predominantly being a female-only sport, with men only beginning to play around 1928. Now there's both a men and women's Olympic team, but even so, people like myself still struggle to find a place to play. And this is where my story actually starts, as I didn't start playing because I wanted to play with girls, or I wanted to be on a girls' team, or because field hockey's easy, or I'm bad at other sports. I started playing because my sister forced me to. So I was right there with you the first day that I started playing field hockey. My sister forcefully asking me to help her practice her sport was the worst request I could receive as a 13-year-old. Playing a girl sport with my annoying sister in the hot sun, no thanks. But after a while, I realized that this was something I was good at, and even more important than that, it was something that made me happy. So there I was, in a world that's often harsh and unforgiving, and in love with a sport that my entire country sees as being made for girls. But when I entered high school, I had the hopes of being able to play on the team with my sister, as she was a high school senior, only to be rejected outright by New Jersey laws. I researched for hours online and read every source possible regarding the boys' ability to play in New Jersey, and I even contacted the head of New Jersey Interscholastic Athletic Association twice regarding my chance to play. And she gave me the same response that she had echoed for years, a response that's now outdated, unfair, and misguided. Her quote was this: "If a female goes out for the football team, what's the chance of that becoming a female sport? It's not going to happen. If you allow boys to play field hockey, pretty soon it could be a predominantly male team." Her association also has a set of laws and guidelines that New Jersey follows, and this is where the screenshot comes from. This screenshot, it was a section labeled Policy for Boy-Girl Competition, and it basically outlines the 3 rules that New Jersey has to follow regarding sports. And there are these. 1. Males shall be excluded from female athletic teams, although there are no teams for boys in the same sport. 2. Based on the directives of the Commissioner of Education, girls shall be allowed to participate in any boys' sports teams on an equal basis with boys, provided that the sports team is not available to girls at that school. And 3. Female athletes are not entitled to participate on boys' teams where there are girls' teams in the same sport. However, if a particular event are not provided to girls' teams in the same sport, then girls must be allowed to try out for those events not offered to the female team. So basically what this means is girls can play football, girls can wrestle, and they're applauded and employed to do so. While people like myself can't play field hockey because of the American stereotype that field hockey was made for girls. As you can see, and honestly maybe you can't see this, but this is highly unlikely and unfair. As I'm sure that if I was to brave the backlash that I would receive for joining the field hockey team, that the other male students of High Point would not be flocking the fields to receive the same treatment. The United States is stuck in a 20th century mindset when this law was put into place, and has been lagging behind other countries for decades. Field hockey is a cultural entity that's meant to be enjoyed by different populations and not reserved for one. Gender discrimination is not okay in any way, shape, or form, and New Jersey, like many other states, has been participating in this level of discrimination for years. And not only was I rejected by the laws, I was rejected by faculty, peers, and people who just couldn't fathom the fact that I wanted to play a girl's sport. There's no way I can describe this feeling of being told no and knowing that this is how it's going to be for the next 4 years besides giving the scenario. Imagine you're good at something. No, actually, you're great at it. And you spend countless hours perfecting this something, and you devote a significant portion of your life to it. But for doing this, you receive backlash, you get bullied, you get left out, you get shut down, you get told no, and when I say you get told no, I mean you get told no consecutively for years. Only a few people listen, and only a few people understand. This is the negativity that I dealt with for years, but that didn't stop me. I started by playing with my sister's team and traveling hours away. But then eventually I started playing here locally with friends, which led me to the local league that I now play with, and the coach who now coaches me, who's from South Africa and also a male. I'm self-taught, and everything I know I've learned from watching every possible field hockey game and probably every video on YouTube that's affiliated with field hockey. When I'm bored, I'll go outside and dribble or shoot, or I'll call my friends and see if they want to go to the field to practice. I've incorporated field hockey into my life in every way possible, and it's something that I'm proud to be known for. Some of the most happy and memorable moments of my life so far have come from playing field hockey, such as winning the championship, to bonding with my sister, to meeting some of the best friends I've ever come to know. And there was a chance I would have never experienced any of these had I let the stereotypes and the discrimination win. There's a chance I would be a completely different person today, all because of an American society that has refused to accept change. I know to some of you this might seem minor, like it's just a sport, get over it, but it's so much more than that to me, and it's so much more than that to so many others. It's a place where I can find comfort, be myself, relax, in an area where many are turned away by the preconceived notions of American society. So with that, moving forward, I ask you, don't judge, don't discriminate, don't bully those who dare to be different or are just simply doing what they love. Instead, encourage and support them. And if you feel you're in a similar experience to me, don't let the fear of backlash stop you or the stereotypes, because this thing might just be the best thing that ever happened to you. I know it was for me. Thank you.
Okay, so our next speaker is Alexis Sisko, and Alexis is going to be talking about the impact high school sports have had on her. Pretty much she's going to be discussing the life lessons she learned and how high school sports has shaped her as a person.
Hi, I'm here today because I want to share my experience with high school sports. You might think that they're all about team drama and who can outdo the other, which they can be, but I'm here to tell you about what they mean to me, what I've learned, and how they shape me as a person. So the first sport I play is field hockey, and I'm not going to lie, I really hated this sport. Maybe it's because we run the time mile every year at the first day of preseason, and every year I forget to prepare for it, so I pretty much die. And maybe it's because it's practically required to be short with all the bending and getting low we have to do. I'm quite tall, so it's kind of a hassle on the knees. But I'd be lying if those were but I'd be lying if I said those were the reasons that I didn't like field hockey. The truth is, and it's hard for me to admit, but I was an awful field hockey player. I really just played because my mom told me to, and I needed to stay in shape for my main sport, basketball. But I finally figured out that I really loved this sport my junior year. So let me tell you the story. So I was starting my junior year field hockey season, always with the dreaded time mile. But I survived, and I made it through preseason, and I was on the JV team. A miracle happens one day, and I play the best JV game of my life, and the coach thinks that it's time for me to be on varsity. So now I'm on varsity, and I play my first field hockey varsity game against Newton. Newton happens to be like one of the best teams that we play against, and I play right defense, so against Newton, defense was working especially hard. I was playing really good, but the truth is I was dying out there. I was really out of shape. Those dreaded time miles did not prepare me for the shock that was the speed of a varsity field hockey game. I was literally dying, and my legs felt like they were going to give out, and I felt like I was going to have an asthma attack even though I don't have asthma. And I probably would have keeled over and died if Maddie Davies, who's playing next to me, hadn't called out to me, "You can do it, Lex. Push through. We're almost done." And it worked. I kept going because I realized that everyone else was tired too, and they relied on me just like I relied on them, and I couldn't let them down. So I continued playing, defending the ball until the final whistle. We did lose 8-0, but I still felt accomplished as I walked off the field. I realized that I wasn't an awful field hockey player, and that I underestimated myself. Throughout the 4 years of my high school, I've had so many memories of field hockey. I want to share a game that we played. It was a state game against Montville my senior year, and we didn't want the season to end, so we came out on fire, scoring 2 goals in the beginning of the game. Montville came back and scored 1, but then we responded by putting another ball in the cage. We let our guard down though, and Montville came back and scored 2 more, tying the game. So after all that hard work, we had to go into overtime. And for overtime in field hockey, we play 7v7. It's 7v7, so we put out the best players. I wasn't one of them, but I didn't really care because I was tired and needed a break. So I was on the sidelines with the rest of my team. I'm a pretty mellow person, I'm not very loud. So it may come to a shock, but I was like screaming and jumping on the sidelines, trying to motivate my team to give it their all. And I'd like to think that they kept going because they saw how hard I was on the sidelines, because we didn't want the season to end. So we go into first overtime and nobody scores. And then we go into the second overtime, double overtime, and we didn't score again. It was like a lot of anxiety. And so we went to strokes. So a stroke is a free shot against the goalie. So we have 5 strokers. And each team goes back and forth, and it's the best out of 5. So I wasn't chosen for this because my stroke is really bad. And like, you want to get the ball up in the air, but I can't really do that because I have to bend my knees and actually do that. So I wasn't chosen, but I'm okay with it. So I was on the 25-yard line with the rest of my teammates, and we all had our arms linked, and we were sending up silent prayers that Montville sucked at strokes. So Montville goes. It was the first one to shoot, and our goalie, Brittany McKenna, she's awesome, I love her, and she wasn't ready for the shot to be gone. And so usually the ref will ask both players if they're ready, but Brittany wasn't ready. She was still adjusting her stick and pads. So Montville gets a score, or a goal, and then we go back and forth, and our team made 4 goals. And then, fortunately, Brittany's the best goalie ever, and she saved the rest of the goals. So then we won, and we all, like, surrounded her, and we're all hugging and, like, crying because we were so happy. And, like, my heart, it was just, like, this moment where it's, like, pure happiness. And, like, I've never really, like, I've only felt it a couple times in my life. I don't know if any of you, but, like, it's a moment that I'll always remember, and I wanted to share with you guys. And I learned that you shouldn't underestimate yourself, and you should never give up because you're capable of doing anything. The second sport I play is basketball. I played basketball for 10 years now, and through the years it was a commitment. It turned into a passion, and then it turned into a love. And high school came, and I was on the freshman team, and it was really exciting and fun. And then my sophomore year came, and I was on the JV team, and it wasn't what I was expecting it to be like. JV practices with varsity, so the varsity, like the upperclassmen, they were like really mean, and they would make fun of us when we like shot air balls or did something wrong. And just so everyone knows, like, it doesn't matter how strong you are, everyone shoots air balls once in a while. And actually, my junior year, we made it to the Group 2 final, and I was out there. It was like 5 minutes left in the game, and we were like losing pretty bad, but I was out there. And I was a couple feet inside the 3-point line, and I had the ball, and I shot it. And it kind of went like this, and then it came like directly down, and the worst air ball of my life. And it was in Pine Belt Arena with like hundreds of people watching, so it was super embarrassing, but I got over it. It was fine. So anyway, back to sophomore year. So the love I had for the sport was really fading. Like, I didn't like it at all. I hated going to practices. And one day, we had like 105 days that year of basketball, and I only missed 1. And it was because this one day, it was a Monday and we didn't have school, so I didn't really want to go to practice because I really did not like it. Like, I really wanted to quit, but I kept with it for some reason. So the head coach asked if I could attend, and I said I couldn't because I wasn't feeling well. But I lied because I was fine. My mom asked if I had practice, and I said no, so I lied to my mom too. And then eventually the truth got out, and my mom figured out that we lied. And I was really, like, her reaction wasn't as I expected. She was really upset that we lied about not having practice because we didn't like it that much. And so we talked to the head coach about it, and we were talking about our problems that we were facing, and he said that he would talk to the other girls about it. So my punishment was I had to apologize to the coach for lying. So I did, and I said it wouldn't happen again, and it didn't. And slowly it got better. And then junior year came, and that year we made it to the state championship game. And at the banquet for that year, our head coach kept praising us, the JV girls basketball team, that it was us that made the varsity strong, and it was us that got the varsity to the state championship game. And I'm really glad that I did not quit because I really, really wanted to. But I have so many memories woven into the game, and I realized that I truly love the sport. And I really learned that you should never give up because you are capable of doing anything. Alright, so the third sport I play is lacrosse. I started lacrosse my freshman year, and I never played it before. high school. So it was really fun learning a new sport with my friends. And this was the first sport that I had this urgency to be on varsity. Like for field hockey and basketball, I was kind of content with playing at JV because it was a lot of fun and I had a good time. But I was, not that the JV team for lacrosse wasn't fun, it was, but I was ready for the next level. And so I played lower attack, which is basically only offense. And this girl, she was an upperclassman, and she had the spot that I really, really wanted to be in. And so instead of like sabotaging her and like doing something to get rid of her, I went to classroom and I worked harder with her, and I proved to the coach that I deserved to be in that position. And I gave it my all during all the practices and all the games. And all my hard work paid off when I started my first varsity lacrosse game. And then I started all the games after that game for the rest of the season. And I learned that hard work can truly beat talent. And I'm very thankful that I was able to play all these sports in high school because I've spent so much time practicing and going to games, and it's really worth every minute of it because I've made so many memories and I've made so many friendships that are so important to me and that I'll have for the rest of my life. And I really learned that you're capable of anything, and yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so the next one's a little different than the first two. We have Charlie Topher coming up talking about the future of engineering, and he's going to be discussing his belief that tomorrow's technology depends on the shoulders of the teens and the children of today, and they should be pushed forward into doing so.
So, unfortunately, I don't have a PowerPoint for this, so I'm just going to have to tell you how. First off, I'm going to have to ask for a show of hands. How many of you played sports growing up? As I figured, almost everyone. How many of you know someone whose parents wanted them to be pushed forward to build something, to do something? Not as many people. Now, if you think about it, if more parents were to push their children to actually do something, like work with their hands, it could change. Just a simple idea, just a simple thought can create a whole new revolution. Now, I can say I'm not the smartest person, and I'm not going to be the first person to say that. But yet, this year I took a new class called bioengineering, and it's one of the greatest classes I've ever made, and decisions I've ever made. We're working on this new project called Hydroponics, where you take water, nutrients, and you grow plants in a small section. Now, we were given the topic on what to do, but we were never given any blueprints on how to do it. We had to think, we had to work, and we had to design our own projects and build it ourselves. Dozens of hours of trials, designs, and errors that went into these projects. My first two projects failed miserably. I blew out the tanks. The third one, nailed it right on the head. So, ways that hydroponics can work is you can solve global hunger with this. People are designing shipping crates and growing the same amount of space that you can grow in about 100 acres of space with that much food in just a little space. Boeing Engineering, they're working on the next way to travel across the sky from even England to New York within 5 minutes with just a simple thought. But how many people actually want to do this? Not a lot, because they think it's hard, they think it's too challenging, but it's really not. And like I said, I'm not the smartest person out there. But when I'm working with my hands, hours of work just feel like nothing, because it's something I'm passionate about. Sitting down in a classroom, watching someone teach you, you fall asleep. I mean, how many people have actually fallen asleep in class? A lot. But when you're working with something that can produce something and grow something, you're fascinated by this. I mean, in the same class, we're also working with egg incubators. We're starting with a little chicken egg, or even quail eggs, duck eggs, pheasant eggs, and we have to build the incubator ourselves. We have to time it right, we have to add the right humidity, the right heat, the right air ventilation, and we have to rotate the eggs each and every day. And so the work that you go into this and put into it could result in a little baby chick coming out. And when you see that little baby chick, you realize, I did this, I created this, I helped make this rather than just make an omelet. Which I unfortunately did. Another system that you could do involving on engineering is the alternative energy sources that we have. The school on our solar panels on our school right now are producing energy, and all solar panels are is just electric wires with silicone, metal, and aluminum running through, being powered, creating warm water, creating the electricity that flows to the school, saving us energy, saving us money, and saving carbon dioxide being pushed in the air by burning coal or having oil burned to produce that energy to spin a turbine. But you could have a hydroelectricity dam put in a small little creek, then you could have a pond in the back, and you could even use that water that you have in the back to grow plants. And those plants can save space for the farms, which instead of having farms, now you can grow houses. And on those houses, you can put solar panels, which now you have living space, residential space, and also a huge amount of space to grow power. So engineering, in a sense, shouldn't be such a scary thought, like playing sports and jumping on the field for the first time. Sure, it's jittery, sure, it's nerve-wracking, but over time, it gets easier, and the process sometimes gets challenging, but gets easier in a sense as well. And that's my thought of engineering.
Okay, so the next person we have is Amanda Linder, and Amanda is going to be talking about Alzheimer's disease and what life is like living with Alzheimer's disease. She's going to be discussing specifically how the disease progresses, the difference it has with dementia, and she's going to be talking about history and relatable facts, and also she'll be speaking about how to handle the situation if you're living with someone that has Alzheimer's disease.
Thank you, Maddie. How is everybody tonight? Okay, so how many of you either know somebody that has had Alzheimer's disease or is battling it right now? It's quite a few of you. So Alzheimer's is actually a very common disease, and right now in America, about 5.5 million people are living with it. It is the 6th leading cause of death, and it causes more deaths than prostate cancer and breast cancer combined. So this relates to me because these are my grandparents, Mary Jane and Lee, and my grandma, Mary Jane, had Alzheimer's for about, I want to say 5 years. I believe she was diagnosed in 2011. But my grandpa, mentally, he was all there. Physically, he was not. He suffered from a few strokes, he had a few falls, he was in and out of nursing homes and hospitals. So this disease is the difference. Okay, well, I bet the most common question that all of you have is, what is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? It's one of the most popular questions, and it's hard to explain, but Alzheimer's is a disease that cannot be treated or reversed. It targets the deterioration of brain cells, and dementia is a syndrome or a disorder that is caused by the deterioration of brain cells. And dementia can be treated and possibly reversed. So some of the effects of Alzheimer's is memory loss, communication skills are lost, a lot of confusion, and dementia is more like everyday activities are harder to perform, and as well as communication. Okay, so Alzheimer's is often looked at as a terminal illness because there are 7 stages of it. The first stage is not severe at all. It's actually hard to detect. You don't even know that you have it. Nobody notices it, not even yourself. The second stage is more mild. You start to notice memory functioning, but nobody else notices it but you. The third stage, your family members might notice, and if you go to the doctor, they'll be able to detect it within a test. The fourth becomes more moderate, and at this point, the symptoms are pretty clear, and it's pretty clear that you have the disease. The fifth stage, as the disease goes on, it becomes progressively worse, and with the fifth stage, is like a nursing home type, well, more like assisted living type phase where you would need help with everyday activities, but you can still do some things on your own. And then the sixth phase is nursing home where you need help doing everything. And the seventh stage is where that's like the last stage and closer to the end of your time, and you need help with everything. It's hard, you can't communicate at all. Some people just are able to utter out a few words or phrases, and that's the most severe that it gets. So here is a brain scan of a healthy brain on the left with a lot of activity, and on the right is a brain with Alzheimer's disease. And the blue represents less function and like dead brain cells. So the brain kind of deteriorates over time. And you can get this done by going to the doctor and being checked for the disease. He'll give you a brain scan or a blood test or even a mental evaluation. And for the mental evaluation, he or she will ask you where you are, if you know your name, if you know what the date is. They'll ask you to perform simple calculations and things like that. So, if you haven't yet grasped the severity of the disease, here is a former star, well, he still is a star, Glenn Campbell. He is a country singer known for his top hit, Rhinestone Cowboy, and he's been playing guitar and singing for most of his life. Recently, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and now he's in a nursing home. He can no longer remember any of the songs that he's written or know how to play the guitar. And he also wrote a song called I'm Not Gonna Miss You when he was when he found out that he had Alzheimer's. And I kind of relate this to my grandma because when my grandpa had passed away, we went, gave her the news, brought her to the funeral, and the funeral was very hard for her. It was very draining because she couldn't recognize her family members that, they're her family. She's known them for years. You think it's impossible to forget your family. But it was a very draining time for her, and on the way back in the car, she said, "Where's Lee? How's he doing? I want to see him." So we had to break the news to her again, and she got all upset, saying, "Oh, I didn't know," and we had to calm her down, saying it was okay. We just came back from the funeral, you were there, and it's okay, it's gonna be okay. So then we get back to her place, and she asked us again, "Where's Lee? I want to see him." And this happened not just 2 times, but it kept happening. So she would get upset and we'd calm her down until she'd forget about it, right? And I think of this as kind of bittersweet because she's able to forget about the hurt for a while us, we remember this and we're unable to forget about it. So for her, it only lasts a few minutes, but for us, it lasts a lifetime. Okay, so, actually I'll go back. I have another story about when my mom and I went to visit her. It was late at night and we showed up. She was in her room with one of her good buddies, Dale, and knocked on the door and said, "Hey Grandma, it's me, your granddaughter Amanda," because she was didn't really recognize me, which was the first time that had happened. This was in the later stages. So she let us in, and she said, "Hey, this is my buddy Dale. This is, Dale, meet the girls, this is my family." And she kept saying that over and over again, and it wasn't quite the visit that we had wanted. It wasn't a very satisfying visit. It only lasted about 10 minutes until she said, okay, thank you for coming by, have a safe trip home. So my mom and I walked out of the room kind of puzzled, and we just kind of stayed out in the lobby area for a while, and we asked one of the nurses if it was all right if Dale could be in her room with her. She said, oh yeah, it's fine, they hang out all the time. But we explained to her that our visit was kind of short, and the nurse explained to us that it was a short visit because my grandma was unable to focus on us. Dale was the distraction in the room, and she wasn't able to engage with us. So the nurse did us a favor. It was no problem. She brought Dale back to his room, no problem. And she said, go ahead, go back in there. I'm sure you'll have a much better visit. So we did, knocked on the door, said, hey Grandma, it's me. And she's like, oh, I haven't seen you in years. It's so good to see you. It's good to see you too, I said. And we had the best visit that I've ever had with her. And I was so glad that we talked to the nurse and we didn't just go home. So I encourage you to ask questions, don't be afraid to be knowledgeable about this subject and talk to the nurses around. So when you're visiting with somebody with Alzheimer's too, though, they tend to repeat themselves a lot. And the most important thing is to keep calm and be patient, and assure them that you love them, because you may think it's frustrating for you to keep answering the same questions over and over again, but for them, they don't realize that they're doing it. But they know, they can sense that you're getting frustrated. So when you assure them that they love you and it's fine with them, you love them that the way they are, then that's just the best way to go. So if you want to join the fight, you can go to alz.org, and they have a lot of programs. They have walks to raise money and all sorts of things like that. So that's it. Thank you.
So our last presentation is Kate Keever's presentation, and she's going to be talking about why we as a generation, we cannot live without our cell phones.
Well, here goes nothing. Alright. I don't know about you guys, but I have a phone in my hand right now. And if it's not in my hand, it's on my wrist because this is a smartwatch. So basically, this is convenient, but at the same time, it's pretty scary. Now, I'm going to go through a daily routine and basically go throughout my day, and I want to see, I want everyone to know how much they can relate to how much they actually use their phone. So, well, that's the wrong slide. Okay, so here's the phone, and I want everyone to just kind of pay attention to the pictures because the phone's in every picture. Alright, so when you wake up, you know you're making your coffee. Your phone's going to be in your hand because that's probably what you're going to be playing on while you're waiting for your coffee. Who can relate to that? Nobody, that's good. Oh, a couple. That's positive. Alright, so then you're in the bathroom. And people, getting ready in the morning, they take a lot of time. Most of the time is actually spent sitting on the toilet with their phone. Now you get to school. You're going to learn. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I play on my phone a lot. And I know I'm not the only one who's going to sit there on Netflix in the middle of class. So, there's your phone in the top corner there. Alright, now, social media, the whole time, there's a lot of it. And you probably have so many accounts, you don't even know the password to all of them. So, you're basically going to sit on your phone for social media, but you need to live outside your phone. If you're going to focus on social media all day, that's, what I do, but it's kind of sad. And I don't want to sit up here and be a hypocrite and be like, yeah, you can't play on your phone, that's bad. Come on, I do it too. So that'd be really hypocritical of me to get up here and say, don't do that. And then, after softball practice, I sit on my phone and do nothing. So who else can relate to that? Just getting up after practice, on their phone, that'll happen. Oh, look, now it's dinner time. You're not talking to your family, no, you're playing on your phone. And probably you took a great picture like this one to post on Instagram. Oh yeah, I had this for dinner, and I had a great time visiting with my family when we all went out. No, you didn't. You sat there the whole time editing your photo. You didn't even that's all you did, I guarantee you. You said, oh, hi, Grandma, nice to see you. Okay, now I'm just going to sit on my phone, take pictures, edit. Yeah, that's what you did. Oh, look, bedtime. Yeah, no, see, here's what I do. I don't know if you guys do this. I'm going to go to bed around maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, but I'm not going to go to bed till like 1 or 2 because I'm too busy playing on my phone, watching Netflix, keeping up with people. And we're all sitting there on Instagram just refreshing, waiting for someone to post something. That's all we're doing. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a pretty sad kind of day. Now, how can we turn this around? Let me just go back to where it was actually. Okay. It's a beautiful day. Now you can go outside and you can play on your phone. Well, that's too accurate and too scary for everyone because that's what we do. If you go on a hike with your friends, half the time is spent taking those nice pictures. You're not enjoying the hike, you're enjoying the time that you're playing on your phone, editing those photos after the fact. And I think everyone needs to just get out in nature more and actually enjoy it. Enjoy people. At lunch all the time, I see people constantly sitting there. I do it too. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I sit there the whole time and I'm glued to my phone. But we need to talk to people. If you're going to text the person across the table from you, you know you have a problem with social issues. I just think that we all need to go outside and actually enjoy the beautiful day and not look at our phone. And that's a nice lake. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's a nice lake. Well, it's a nice lake. So, I just think that maybe people throughout their day, if we didn't have our phone, could be more productive. How can we do that? Well, when you wake up, don't check your phone the first thing you do. Your alarm clock can wake you up, even though no one probably has an alarm clock anymore. Make your coffee. If no one's up, just, talk to yourself. You're the most intelligent person you've ever met. In the bathroom, maybe we shouldn't spend 20 hours in the bathroom. We should just spend half an hour. And just kind of chill out there, and that's the school. Alright, yeah, just, I'm a mess, that's okay. Just, focus on yourself, and maybe if you don't use your phone, you could probably sleep in an extra 5 minutes or so. You never know. At school, talk to people. Don't play on your phone, even though everyone's literally going to do the exact opposite of what I just said. Social media. Maybe instead of refreshing every 5 minutes, cut it back to maybe every 15 or half hour. After sports practice, maybe talk with the teammates, plan a pasta party, go out, do something else, and not put on your phone as much. So maybe just talk with your teammates, and then on the bus ride home, play with your phone. When you're eating dinner, just, take your picture, but edit it afterwards. Enjoy the dinner, enjoy the time with your family, just edit the photo later. It can wait. The food is going to get cold. Your photo is going to be beautiful the whole time, so it can hold off a little bit. And before bed, maybe try talking to people or FaceTime. You can use your phone for FaceTime because you're actually looking at someone. Because that's okay, because obviously we're not going to, Alright, so yeah, I say we're not going to be able to obviously cut out our phones because they're technology that is going to grow with the human race, but just try to do the little things, just kind of cut it out 1 minute at a time. That's all I got.
questions? Yeah. All right. My class, bring your stuff on over. Class, bring your stuff on over. Class, bring your stuff on over. Class, bring your stuff on over.